Well, welcome, family. Come on in and join the show. I am holding it down solo today as Charles is out and Kennedy is out. Kennedy is in Miami, as I'm sure a lot of the alumni from the are in Miami. So a lot to talk about today, but we won't keep you long because I know many of you are either on your way to Miami or you're gearing up to watch it on ESPN this week, the game. But I did want to kind of get all of you to come on in and share some things with you on this Friday going into Labor Day weekend. So just a couple things. Obviously, just to kind of set the mood and get us, I want to talk about, it's football season. It's football season, definitely, and I want to talk about the fact that last week was week 0 in football and college football world, and Alcorn and North Carolina Central opened up the season with the MEAC SWAC Challenge, and I was pulling, actually, for Alcorn to represent the SWAC well, which they did not because they lost the game to North Carolina Central, but it just teaches a proverbial lesson that we all have known, and it reminded us that there's a reason why you play the game, because anything can happen in sports. Anything can happen on the field, on the court, and that's why you play the game. On paper, things can look one way, but you got to play the game. And so as we head into the season opener for Jackson State as they play in the Orange Blossom Classic against FAMU, first time the Classic has been revived since 1948. I give those same cautions to myself and say, fellows, even though on paper our team should dominate FAMU, that doesn't play the game. You still have to execute and play the game. And unless you execute the way you look on paper, you won't get the score results that you want. So I need you to execute and do what you need to do. So I wanted to highlight a couple of things. Number one, I want to encourage everybody to get their vaccinations. Get the vaccinations and wear your mask. Even if you are vaccinated, continue to wear your mask. You may hear me coughing today. I'm still negative. I've tested negative, but I do have postnasal drips, so I'm okay, in case you hear that. But take your vaccinations and get tested regularly. It's something that I've committed to doing. So I wanted to bring up Jim Hill High School. Jim Hill High School's principal, and I commend this, has a goal to get 100% vaccination by October 1st. And I think he'll do it. I really think he'll do it. And the student athletes are leading the way to try to be the first group to reach 100% vaccination status. And so really excited about that initiative. I applaud him. I applaud the student athletes. And I say, go out there, young men and women, and get it done. Get it done. You can do it. So JPS is doing some things that make it easy for everybody to get vaccinated as well. All that is needed is a cell phone and QR code to schedule a vaccination, and you can get right away with that, get scheduled and get that done. So let's take advantage of that and make sure that everyone is participating in those things. So I can't get around it. So just to kind of set the mood for this Friday, because this is going to be a short one, and we're going to get into a couple of things I'm going to share with you, and then it's all about celebration and the start of football this week, this Friday, as I hold it down. And so I want to share this with you just to get us in the mood to understand what time it is, and particularly for you FAMU alumni, this goes out special to you right here. Let's see. just a little bit to get you started there. But I do want to remind everybody to be safe and just to get you in the mood this weekend as you are headed out to Labor Day weekend's festivities. Couple pointers: please wear your mask. Please get vaccinated. And if you haven't, if you have, encourage other people to go. Even give them a ride if you need to. Help them get it scheduled if they need help with that. And then, secondly, get tested regularly. Even though we are vaccinated, it may be asymptomatic. Get tested to make sure we're not bringing others in harm's way. And that's something that I've been doing weekly, is get tested just to make sure that I'm not bringing anything and bringing it in anybody to cause harm. So now let's get down to business. I do want to point out one more big thing as we kind of keep this short show today, is to literally pray for everyone that's going to the game and traveling to the game, any of the games this week, that everybody is safe, that we don't have any spread of events, and that everybody returns safely and healthy. So that is for everyone. I want everyone to have that. All right. So now, with that being said, I know last week we've been talking a lot about vaccinations because school is in. We've been seeing the challenges that schools are having all across the country and having to shut down because of the cases of COVID, particularly the Delta variant. And now there's a new variant that's on the scene. And so we just have to stay ready. I am of the mindset that it's not a pandemic anymore, it's an epidemic, meaning we better figure out how to live with this thing and be effective with it, which means we're going to have to be cautious and take precautions. And so, hey, Willie Mae, thanks for joining in. And so I just want to make sure that we're all doing that. And sometimes when we have been enduring something for so long, it's so easy to get apathetic and to stop putting the effort in, and we start kind of laying back, and that causes problems. So I want to make sure that we don't do that we continue to keep the pressure on, and that we do what we need to do to make sure that we are continuing to stay as healthy as possible. All right, so hopefully everybody will heed that. I am, and Willie Mae, if you got any information, just put it in the chat too, of other little tips that people can do. And I know it's probably some of the same things we heard, but that just will help them as they go to the game, as they engage in celebrations and those things this week and this weekend. What are some things they can do to put themselves in the best position to stay safe and healthy? So definitely want to share those. So please take your precautions and do your part. Yes, absolutely, Monica. Definitely do that. So that's my words out. I've been on the men's and I'm just getting back. So I've been out the last couple of Fridays, and so I'm glad to be back. And now everybody's gone. So they left me and they're all gone. But I wanted to share that with you. I wanted to hit a couple things as far as the Supreme Court. There was a dramatic 5-4 action leaving Texas abortion law in place at midnight that establishes that the whole rule on abortion. And if you're haven't been following that, it is one of big contention because it changes the whole law on abortion and when it can be done, if at all. And it came down to a 5-4 vote, which was shocking. So it's interesting, but you can read Chief Justice John Roberts dissented with 3 liberal justices in what would be regarded as the most consequential case in the Supreme Court in years. All right. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. And as on this Friday, Willie Mae, and I'm going to post that. Willie Mae, thank you for sharing that up. Wear masks, keep pocket hand sanitizer handy at all times. And let me tell you this, Let me give you some flying tips too. So when you're on a plane, get you some of those small wipes, traveling wipes, and wipe down your seat, wipe down that seat back pocket. Everywhere you touch, you wipe. Don't assume that they're cleaning those planes in between, because they don't have time to do it. Wipe and clean your own seat. Take that time to do that, to make sure everything you touch has been sanitized and clean. Keep your mask on while you're on that flight. Do not take your mask off. If you do and you have to take it off to eat something, you eat it and you put that mask back on while you chewing. I'm just saying, you want to be as diligent as you possibly can, because you're in close quarters at that point when you're on the plane, and it's just recirculated air. So you want to make sure that you're doing the things you can to protect yourself. And great one, Willie Mae. Don't be afraid of offending anybody. You want to offend somebody, you want to save a life. Nobody is going to be upset that you offended them if you save their life. I can assure you of that. So great points to put out there. I do want to, a lot of you may know that here at Irvin Law, we do have the division that does business credit and personal credit. And so I work with a lot of our customers in establishing business credit and consumer credit. And today I just wanted to give some tips, particularly on consumer credit, because I'm realizing that a lot of people don't understand the basic principles of it. And so I wanted to break down some of the myths that I get all the time. And so hopefully you can share these tips with friends and family. For information, you can visit our website if you need help rebuilding your credit the right way and understanding it. Now, let me just put my disclaimer out. The way we do it, if you're not interested in learning and understanding what you need to do in doing your part of the work, don't hire Irvin Law to help you with your credit, because you're going to be working with me personally. And if you don't want to learn, so you don't repeat the same mistakes, I'm not going to take you as a client, because it's just a waste of your time and mine, because you're going to do the same thing over and over. And I don't want you to do that. It's about helping you, not just making money off of you. So if I can't help you, I won't take you on. The second thing is, here's the first tip. And this is often gets confused with a fact, but it's not actually true. And people say it like it's true. So cash is king. I just don't do credit cards and I have good credit. There's mathematically no possible way for you to not do credit cards and have good credit. Here's why. The credit card score is broken into 5 components. Credit history, which is 35% of your score. That's your actions you've taken, how you've used and managed your credit. Credit utilization, 30% of your score, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So we're talking about 35% of your score, 192.5 points. 30% of your score, 165 points. The next biggest item is your types of credit, 15% of your score. Then we got credit history. Not credit history. We got credit inquiries, 10%. Right? And then you got the other 10% in credit type. So now, credit age. And so you got inquiries, age, types of credit, utilization, and credit history. We can't do anything about your history. It's either right or wrong. And if it's wrong, we follow the steps according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act to get those items removed and the law. But if you ain't paid that bill, and you ain't paid that bill for 6 months, and they can prove it, you ain't paid that bill. All right. So, but that's just one small point of your credit card. So let's break it down like this. So let's say you did everything right in your credit except you don't have credit cards. Then that means the maximum points of credit anyway. Your highest score you can get is 850. The lowest you can get is 300. So you start at 300. So if you do nothing but have a good credit history, you paid everything on time, all that's well, that's 192.5 points. So if that's all you did, you still have a sub 500 score. You got 492.5. So, and then if you do good with inquiries and you don't have a lot of inquiries, you got 10 points. So that's 55 points. So that gets you over 500. Still, you don't have good credit at 500. So let's say you did good with credit. Your credit age won't be good because you don't have credit cards. So now you don't even get that 10%, which is 55 points. So you still are hovering around 540. Then the next column over there is going to be your types of credit. So you may have a diverse type of credit that gives you 15%, right? So that gets you what, about 80, 85 points. So you could possibly, best case scenario, be up to about the low 600s. It's okay, it's average, it's subpar, still not get credit score. So you have to have credit cards, but you have to know how to use credit cards the right way in order for it to help you score. And that's worth 865 points. And so when you put that 165 points onto that, now that changes the games in terms of your credit score and what is good. So there's no mathematical way that you can have a great credit score and not use credit cards. But if you take 850 and subtract the 165, that still puts you sub 700. So again, that's just the fact. That's just the law. That won't ever change. That's just the way it works. Now, great question, Monica. Monica asked a question, and I'll put it up there. She said, how does someone get a great credit card with low credit scores? So there's a couple ways to do it. So depending on how low your score, if your score is very low, that you're outside of the range to get an unsecured credit card, then you need to get a secured credit card, but not just any type of secured credit card. You need to get a secured credit card that reports to all three bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Not every credit card reports to all three bureaus. So you want one that reports to all three. And you get a secure card, and that's where you put money up and you secure the collateral. The second thing is you have to be taught how to use it. So on a credit card, here's some things that most people don't know. And we have a course on our website you can take for this that teaches this in detail. And just hit me up. I'd be glad to share that with you. You can spend the $60 and take the course, and it walks you through every step of this. But here's the thing. On your credit card statement, the most important date on there is not your due date, because that's not your real due date. And that's what most people don't understand, because the way credit cards are reported, your balance that's reported is reported at the end of your billing cycle. So let me give you an example of how utilization works. Let's say you have a credit card that has a $1,000 limit. Let's say on your credit card statement, your bill due date is the 15th of the month. That's when it says your bill is due. So you get your bill in September and it's saying it's due the 15th of October. That's when most people pay their bill. Couple things. On your credit card statement, there's the bill due date, and then there's something called the cycle start date and the cycle ending date. Or it might say the billing period start date, the billing period end date. That actual billing period end date or cycle end date is your real due date. Now, and I guarantee you that date is always going to be before the due date that they give you. That date keeps you out of compound interest, which if you get behind the table on compound interest, you'll never ever be able to pay off the debt, because all you're paying is interest every month, and then that interest is compounding, so you can never attack the principal. So that's why the debt just gets higher and higher each month, because now you've gotten behind the radar. So you have to understand how credit cards works, how finance charges works, and how the credit card companies make their money. They make their money off the interest they charge you. They make more money when they can charge you compound interest. Why else would I let you borrow some money from me in January and pay it back to me in March? I'm not doing it if I'm not making more money. Otherwise, I want my money back when I loan it to you. So the reality is, when you look at that real due date, that bill cycle ending, not the due date they give you, that cycle ending due date, that's your due date. Now, here's the catch. You can't mail your payment in by that time, because they don't even send you your bill until that cycle ending date has passed. So that means you have to be able to go online and pay your bill. You have to know your cycle ending date. You go online and pay your bill in full by that cycle ending date. Now, here's the next catch that you have to watch. Depending on the credit card companies, they have what they call pending transaction periods. And so what that means is when you do an initial charge on a credit card, that charge goes in pending status. it may take anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, or sometimes 72, before it actually clears and turns into a charge. And a lot of credit card companies now, they won't let you pay more than you owe at the time. So if you got some in pending status, they won't let you pay it. But so if you are up against your cycle ending date and you got something pending, you can't pay it. And let's say it's a large transaction, so it's gonna, and you got $1,000 limit, and you got some pending that's 900. You got the money to pay it, but you can't pay it. So now what's happening is, on that cycle end date, when it reports, that charge will go through and reflect on that, and it's going to show your balance was 900, which means you're at 90% utilization. So of that 165 possible points you could have gotten, you're only going to get about 8 to 10% of those points, which is going to tank your credit score. So that's how important utilization is. So that's why you have to know when your billing date is and when your cycle ending date is, and you back that out 3 days, and that's the black period that you do not use your card. For those 3 days every month, you cannot use your card because you won't be able to pay it so that it'll clear before the billing cycle ends. This is I'm giving you jewels right now for free that I have to work with people on, and you should take this and use it, because this is the part that most people don't teach. They don't explain the why. I'm telling you why you have to have credit cards, and I'm telling you how to use them and how they work. The next thing you need to understand is utilization. If you have $1,000 limit, what's the most you should ever carry over as a balance? Personally, my personal goal is to never carry over more than 9% of my available limit. So that means on most months, I'm paying off 100% by my billing cycle. If I have to carry some over, I try to keep it under 9% of my available limit. So if I got $1,000, that means $90. I can't have a balance larger than $90, right? Now, the standard rule of thumb, you can go up to 29%. And then once you go over 29%, it's really the way the algorithm works on the credit score at all the bureaus is going to really ding you hard once you get into higher utilization. So now every time you increase your utilization, you can get less and less of that 165 points in that category. So by me keeping myself at 9% or less, I'm always maximizing how much I can get of that 165 points in the utilization category. And that's where most people lose all their points. It's an understanding that 30% credit utilization, how to use that area, how to understand credit cards, how to leverage them in a way that works for you and not for the banks. So that's the key there. So that's all of us. I guarantee if you go and look at it, you got most of your points hanging out in this area called utilization. And then if you don't have credit cards at all, you get 0 of that 165 points. So there's nothing you can do to get it without credit. So you do have to have credit to build credit, but you have to know how to use it the right way to build it. Because if you go and max out your credit cards, you just hurt yourself. You just tank your credit cards. Now, not only are you not getting 165 points, not only are you not getting those 165 points, you're in a negative. Because now you're having a negative deficit because you're over the limit. So you just have to know the rules to the game so you can play the game accordingly. And once you know them, you pay less in everything. Because if you got a better credit score, you pay less. So I'll give you an example. I had 2 customers. One, we worked with them, had a really great credit score. And so when she came to me, her credit score was poor. She was renting. We worked with her for about 18 months and got her credit score really nice, above 700. Her landlord came to her and said, hey, I'm going to put the house up for sale. Are you interested in buying? Her rent was, I think she told me, was $1,350 is what she was paying in rent. $1,350 or $1,400. She ended up buying the house and her mortgage was $900. See the difference? And so that's just showing you the power of money and the power of credit if you understand it. So here's the thing of credit. It's either going to hurt you, it's going to help you. If you understand it, it's going to help you. If you choose not to understand it, it's going to hurt you. So please take this information I'm giving you and share it, and also do something about it, because credit is a huge part of America now and will forever be. And you got to remember, prior to 1970, it wasn't a big deal. All the decisions were made local at the local banks, at the local stores. Nothing is made local anymore. It's all based off a number. And here's the other thing you need to know. We don't really have a credit score number as people. We have data. That data is put into an algorithm that kicks out a number. That number is dynamic, which means it constantly changes based on the actions that we're due. So if you go buy something right now and charge it, it's affecting that data that therefore affects that score in that algorithm. So that's why you have to understand how everything you do, every move you make, how it affects your credit. So that way, if I'm going and I'm going to put a big charge on my credit card, I need to know when I'm going to pay that bill, what card am I using, what's the bill date on that card, because I don't want it to ding my score. That's how serious I am about it. So I'm never worried when I need to do a credit or access my credit, because I'm not worried about a denial, because it's always good, because I understand the game and I want you to understand it as well. And that's when you work with a professional, they should bring that to the table of teaching you and educating you. So for us, we call our program the Credit Score Improvement Program, because it's really about educating you and empowering you with the knowledge. If you work, I tell people, when you come and you work with me, you should work with me once and be set for a lifetime. If you got to keep coming back, that means you're not really interested in learning. And I just don't tend to do those. Not a good fit for me. So I want you to be empowered that we can now stop making all the money for the banks and make it work for you where it's favorable for you and your family. That's the deal. I am sick and tired of seeing people paying 18 and 20% for cars and interest, and you'll never pay that car off. So now, then you finance it for 5 or 6 years. And so by the time you buy a $50,000 car and you've 18% interest rate, you finance it for 5 or 6 years, and by the time you're done, you've paid $80,000 for that $50,000 car. That's crazy. So we've got to do better. So that's some tips there. All right. So take advantage of that. And the last tip I will give you is on credit card and credit age and history. So myth, if you cancel a credit card, it does not affect your credit score. Yes, it does. You do not want to cancel a card. Here's why. Because it affects your credit score in 2 spots, in fact. So remember, there are 5 components to the credit score. There's this thing called utilization we just talked about, and then there's this area called credit age. So if you have a card, say you've had a card you got when you got out of college, and you've had it for years, and maybe you got the balance down to 0, but it might be a small amount card, might have $500, might have $1,000 limit, but you don't use it a lot. Well, don't close that card. Keep it active. Make sure you buy some gum on it, use it, pay it off, keep it active, because what happens with your utilization is if you close that card, so let's say you had $20,000 of available credit with all your credit cards. You close that card. Now you don't have $20,000 of limit anymore. You only have $19,000. That's going to increase your utilization right there. The math on that alone is going to increase your utilization, which is going to lower your score. Because now, let's say based on the amount of debt you had, you were at 28% utilization. But when you take that $1,000, you no longer have that $1,000 credit. So now instead of having $20,000 credit limit, you got 19. Your utilization just increased from 28% to 32%, and now that's going to ding you on your score. The other thing that's going to happen is when you close a card, it no longer tracks in your credit age. So let's say sometimes people will get a new card that's a larger limit or balance. And then they will say, well, I'll close this old card because I don't need it anymore because this card is a $10,000 balance and this one is only like 500 or 1,000. Don't close it, because what happens is when you don't close it, say you've had this card for 20 years and then you get a new card and you just had it for a month, it's going to average that age, and so your age still may be 18 years. If you close that smaller card, now all you have is that new card, and now your credit age went from 18 years to 20 years to 1 month. That's going to drop you. So I have seen people literally by closing cards drop their credit score as much as 60, 70, 80 points. So those are some little things you'll want to know to make sure that you stand on top of, that you don't make those simple mistakes. And that's just about knowing how the algorithm works. You got to remember, guys, that the FICO stands for the Fair Isaac Corporation. It was created by Bill Fair and Earl Isaac, a mathematician and a data scientist. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. That's who created this system that we call FICO, a mathematician and a data scientist. They created the algorithm. And now we have over, 30 something variations of the credit score. And the reason why your credit score will never be the same usually at the bureaus is because each bureau uses a different algorithm to calculate their score. And then they use different score methods and algorithms based on what you're trying to get a credit for. So if you're doing a mortgage, they're going to be using the FICO mortgage score calculations. Equifax uses a different one than TransUnion. TransUnion uses a different one than Experian. So it's never going to be the same. They all use their independent ones. And then some will use FICO 5, some will use FICO 3. Now they're using the latest FICO 10 and FICO 10T. So you've got to know the rules to the game. So that's the couple tips, and that's enough to give you on this Friday. Look, it's football season. I'm going to end it like that. You guys have a fantastic weekend. I will take a quick second if anybody has any questions for me on the credit game. Any questions, I will take a couple questions before we get out of here today. If you go ahead and just put those in the chat, I will answer those. Any credit questions you have, I will answer them now. No charge. So you got me free and in the clear right now. So if you got a question, get it out there and I will answer it for you. All right. Okay. How do we contact me? Great question. I will put the number up here and you can do it on our website at Irvin, and I'll put that up too. So you can contact us right here on the website at irvinlaw.com, and you can give us a call here. And then if you go on your website, you can even schedule an appointment and get on my calendar, and we can go over your credit score. And one of the things I do with everybody, I go before I even see if I can work with you. We go over it. I do a complete analysis of your credit with you, and I explain to you if I can help you, and I interview you. So there's questions I ask to make sure we're a good fit to work together. And if I can't help you, I won't take you as a client. If I can, and I feel like you're a good fit with me, you're willing to do the work, then I will, and we'll get busy turning your credit around. It can be changed. I once had a credit score that I was not proud of, but it was nothing for me to embarrass about. I didn't understand how the game worked. And to be honest with you, we're not taught how it works. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about because you don't know. You're not supposed to know, and the banks don't want you to know. That's why I'm here to teach you. All right. All right. Look, guys, have a fantastic weekend. Cheer for Jackson State. Let's root them on. And let's start this new era of prime time and in a fantabulous way. Also, if you hadn't had a chance to check out the documentary, Coach Prime, that's available on YouTube at Bar 2 Sports. So definitely check that out. And until next Friday, when the whole crew will be back, hopefully with a victory, and we'll be headed to Memphis next week to beat down the other Tigers of Nashville and Tennessee State. So until then, have a great weekend. Be safe. Wear your mask. Get your vaccinations. Social distance. Wash your hands. Have your wipes. Do all of that. Take care.